I'm on a journey to complete as many games as I can on my backlog, and today's victim is Godfall. So, a quick question for you. Have you ever heard of the term looter slasher? I'm sure you can think of looter shooters like Destiny, but looter slasher is kind of underused term for games. The last game I covered, Neo, fits neatly into this category, due to its random loot and mission system. However, Godfall was the one game in which the devs specifically used this terminology to describe it. Now, how many of you have even heard of this game? I honestly wouldn't blame you if you haven't. It was originally announced at the 2019 Game Awards as the first ever game confirmed for the PlayStation 5, and then came out on the 12th of November 2020 for the PS5 and PC, and the reviews were average at best. However, some people did find the game fun and built a small but dedicated community around it. I cannot say the same for the dev/publisher though. After the Fire and Darkness expansion, which came out in August 2021, the game has been practically abandoned, with not even the bare minimum of support at times. Around a year ago, reports of the co-op not working started to appear, and only recently, by the end of June, did it seemingly get fixed. This is kind of a big deal with how much the game was promoted with its co-op experience. As a result, one of the most requested features on the Steam forums is for them to add an offline mode, which honestly should have been a thing from the start. Yes, if it wasn't bad enough, this game is online only, so it requires a constant internet connection to play, and that the servers are still working. Gameplay-wise, the combat feels very similar to 2018's God of War. You have your standard light and heavy attack, you can aim and throw your shield, which often enables a grab for good damage or even a straight-up kill. You have two weapons you can swap on the fly, each weapon type also has their own special attacks, and you even have a super mode, which looks very underwhelming. That said, in order to fully complete Godfall and collect all 63 achievements, we'll have to do a lot of grinding. Besides story mode, the overwhelming majority of the achievements are do X action number of times or kill X number of enemies. But those aside, the hardest ones will be for the alternate modes we'll unlock towards the end. We'll have to reach floor 20 of the Ascended Tower of Trials, a wave-based challenge, complete the Lightbringer mode a total of 10 times and once with 3 curses applied, and still in the same mode, we'll have to loot a total of 200 light chests. So there's a lot of things to do to add this game to my completion tab, but I welcome it. I bought this game just because the armor of this guy looks cool, so if there's any stupid grind, I deserve it for such a dumb reason for a purchase. Either way, let's not wait anymore. This is how my Godfall completion went. The first thing we see is a cutscene establishing the story. We have a brother who has fought alongside us in wars, and after a while he would go mad and we have to stop him. After countless casualties, it is us versus him, and we lose spectacularly. I have to say though, if there is one thing this game does right, it's presentation. The graphics and armor designs are peak. Regardless, we get dropped into the sea with our brother believing we are dead. We're not, of course, and we're staging a comeback. Cue title card. So in order to stop our brother Marcus, the first order of business for Orin, that's us, is to look for a weapon inside the Sunforged temple. We'll head through the front while our two friends take the back. This stage serves as a tutorial to get used to the controls. In the meantime, this weapon sounds more like a person with every line.
She won't want to leave the temple, Orin. I know.
We come across the type of enemy that I would hate for the rest of the game. Protectors. These guys need to be defeated first, otherwise they'll make other enemies invincible. We find our shield nearby and learn about blocking and throwing, as well as parrying and enemy attack types. Whoa! We reach the temple entrance, but we are blocked by our first boss, High Lord Phalanxer. As our introduction to the game, this guy isn't difficult at all. Remember which type of attacks you can parry or not, and just ship away. We cannot finish the job though, as his mace literally breaks the floor, sending us to the depths of the temple. We find our first loot, which introduces to the menu system. The loot is a second weapon, a Warhammer, which we equip and then notice the skill tree. This game takes skill choice to the next level. You are completely free to personalize your skills however you want. At any point you can respec without any penalty whatsoever, so you can choose skills that fit more your builds as you get better gear, but we'll cover more of that later. We also find the skin menu and gawk at the cool recolors. Oh, these ones are cool. Oh, so they're recolored Valiants. Reach floor 10 of the Ascended Tower. It's Silvermane. Oh, so it's armors. Oh. Oh my god, I love this. Oh. Oh, the legendary ones. Oh, this one looks cool as hell. Exalted status with Silvermane. That actually looks cool as hell. The codex for lore and personal challenges, which we'll have to do anyway, since most of them are the same actions that will give us achievements. For now, we progress through the temple with a voice in our head. Our brother Marcus has taken control of the monolith, which apparently has the power to shape reality. We find some dual blades, but we'll stick with the standard sword for now. We keep heading through, defeating enemies and channeling our inner Kratos to break everything. We then learn about soul shattering. A good portion of our light attacks will accumulate soul shattering our opponent's health. We can then use a move like our heavy to take all health that has been marked by it, often leading to a killing blow for most common enemies. We'll need to get used to this mechanic, as some enemy types and bosses will commit more build-up than actual damage, so their health bars will practically not move unless we soul shatter them. Normally, if your weapon glows red when attacking, that means the move specifically can do that. Either way, we keep going through the gorgeous views of the temple. I'll say it again, in terms of presentation, this game's graphics are absolutely beautiful. You know what this place reminds me of? That the hidden vault in God of War. Tyr's hidden vault. You know, I'll admit that is gorgeous. The voice acting, though, leaves a lot to be desired.
How could you possibly defeat your brother and all his forces? Tell me.
I'll find a way. I just need to get inside the monolith.
Amazing voice acting so far.
Your odds are 1,000 to 1. But I'll help you. On one condition.
What is it?
You won't like it, Orin.
Then say it! Oh my god! We reach the sanctum of the temple to our first major boss, Solaris. It has a shield we need to break before it can do some damage, and will sometimes do some laser attacks that set the floor on fire. But beyond that, it is as simple as it gets. It even introduced a new type of enemy attack, blue attacks, or pearless as the game calls them. Successfully parrying them causes the boss to be temporarily stunned for a few seconds and open to attacks. After we defeat it, we earn the achievement Solaris. We take the weapon we were looking for, the temple starts to crumble, and we get teleported away. We arrive at a new location and properly meet our weapon, which was the voice we were hearing. This is the 7th Sanctum, and yes, it is both her name and the name of the location we're currently in. This is our main lobby for the entirety of the game, but for now, we speak with Sanctum. She will help us craft a plan to defeat Macros, but Orin's not so trusting due to what happened with his brother. The game then decides it is time to talk about the armor sets decorating the center, called Valor Plates. While any can equip anything, each one has a set of special abilities to focus on a certain build. For example, our starting Valor Plate, Silver Main, is all about the shield throw and reducing cooldowns, but for example, one we can unlock immediately, the Phoenix, is all about fire damage. Each Valor Plate also has 3 loadouts you can save. This includes a skill tree, so with 12 Valor Plates you can have a total of 36 loadouts to experiment with. With that out of the way, we speak with Sanctum again and get ready to start. Macros sealed himself in the upper floors of the monolith while he keeps attacking Hyperion. He plans to use the power of this huge structure to become a god, and for that he's going to use a spell called the Rites of Ascension. So in order to stop this, we need to know how the spell works. A copy of it is stored somewhere on the lowest floor of the monolith, the Earth Realm, guarded by Macros' men. We arrive, and like the loot goblin that I am, instead of heading towards the mission goal, I quickly started exploring and grabbing everything on sight. Among the things you can find are mother loads and the remains of soldiers. Both of these provide materials needed to craft the Valor Plates at the lobby, so we'll want those. We also find journal pages, although there's not much of a reason to craft them if you're only after the achievements. They just provide more lore on the world and Orin and Macros' relationship. Then lastly, we have chests providing random equipment and money. There's even checks that are locked and you need to break some blue things to unlock it. Sounds familiar. Either way, we eventually come across some barriers preventing us from going further, so we guess we have to follow the objective now. We reach the watchtower and meet an old friend. It is time to continue what we started in the tutorial and fight Phalanxer once again. Same deal as before, only now he has blue attacks, so you can get some free hits if you successfully parry those. After some damage he will run away, and now we're on the hunt. We follow his underlings and come up against him once again. This time we finish the job and collect the Rites of Ascension he drops. We head towards the exit point and mission complete. With the rites in our possession, Sanctum explains that in order for Macros to ascend, he'll need a huge amount of Aetherium. However, gathering such an amount would be impossible for one single individual. Macros has 4 lieutenants who are gathering and transferring it to him, so they are now our targets. Zamora, leader of the Vargol, stationed in the Earth Realm, Lunara, a Guardian Construct stationed in the Water Realm, and then in the Air Realm we have Greaves Sunsteel, a Godsmith responsible for creating the gear of Macros' army, and lastly the Gilded Commander, who Macros considers to be his brother's replacement. Because I spent most of the time on the last mission wandering around, I got enough materials to craft 2 more Valor Plates. Greyhawk, who specializes in Soul Shatter and Polarity attacks, and Bulwark for physical attacks and its respective ailment, Bleed. Speaking of which, I should probably explain them. If you have any equipment or ability to inflict ailments, the one that is inflicted is dependent on the type of damage your weapon does. A set of achievements we need to unlock is to inflict each ailment type 100 times. As already stated for physical, the matching ailment is Bleed. The others are Ignited for Fire, Shield for Water, Shock for Air, Poison for Earth, and Curse for Void. Because the damage type you get in weapons is also randomized, you can get any of these without needing to focus on a specific build, which helps with the grind. Either way, while Sanctum analyzes the spell, she advises to gather strength, and so she suggests we rescue a godsmith who's currently being held prisoner by the Vargol. First we need to go around and destroy 3 totems, so as usual I just wander looting everything instead and unlock Gatherer for having looted 50 motherloads. We eventually find all 3 totems and destroy them. Now to remove the barrier to the fortress, we'll need some Ethereum. Sanctum says there should be some near the falls, so we head there, and if we're up for an extra reward, there are 2 more totems to destroy. We reach the falls and hold off enemies while the Sealbreaker is charging. Once we do, we finally enter the fortress and confront our next boss, the Vargol Champion. He hits hard but is slow and predictable. If anything, I'd say the parry timings are quite generous. In fact, in this boss fight, we unlock Defender for parrying 100 times. Oh, Defender, parry 100 attacks now? The only annoyance is that at some point 2 mages will join in, which can heal the boss, and since this game does not have a mechanic like Devil May Cry, where enemies are less aggressive when they are not on camera, get ready for surprises, and I mean this for the game in general. Eventually, we deal one of the most underwhelming finishers in this game. Those had no impact at all. Regardless, the boss is dead, and we find the smith who turns out to be an acquaintance of Orin's. After exchanging pleasantries with Zenon here, he gives us a sacred flame so we can turn on the forge. We're now able to upgrade our gear using materials we gather during missions, and Zenon will sell some random equipment which refreshes after a while. He can sometimes sell high rarity gear, so definitely something to keep an eye on. We unlock one more valor plate with the materials we got on the last mission. Mesa, who specializes in earth damage and therefore poison. I mess around with the valor plates for completely valid reasons. Oh, that looks so good. Apply that one. Apply that one. Oh. But then our friend Soros has found a cache of Valorian artifacts under Vargol control, so we need to take them off their hands. We make our way back to the watchtower where we found Phalanxar to find Soros there next to a Sunflare orb. We activate it and survive until the timer runs out. The more enemies defeated in that time frame, the better the reward. Once we're done, the phase node in the distance becomes active, granting access to a new section of the map. While exploring this new area, we open our 50th chest, unlocking Raider. We make our way to the mission objective to our next boss, Wraith Lord Decimus, who, while not exactly strong, he has an annoying mechanic in that he keeps summoning 2 wraiths to fight with him. So while he is in exactly trouble right now, later in the game he becomes an actual pain to deal with. Regardless, he goes down and we go loot the artifacts. We return to a beacon for extraction and mission complete. Sanctum now thinks it is time to face our first lieutenant, Zamora. We can indeed rush to her immediately, however this is not a good idea. If we fight her now, we'll be afflicted with debuffs that will make the boss fight way more difficult than it should be. Instead, we'll go after her captains. Each of these bosses is applying one of those debuffs. If we want to fight Zamora with no strings attached, these need to be brought down first. The first we'll be going after is the one we haven't fought yet, the Alpha Rancor. For these missions, it is very straightforward. You just go to the boss, beat it, and bang, mission complete. You have secondary objectives which you can do for extra rewards though, so if they're not of much trouble, they may be worth going for. Either way, Alpha Rancor is basically a big doggo, who will call for backup at certain intervals. His parry timings were legit messy with me, and a lot of his moves are the unblockable type. Plus, he leaving poison on the floor wasn't exactly helpful. Regardless, he goes down with a fight. The next is Vargol Champion, one we already fought, so there's not much I can say for the fight. However, on the way to him, we get 3 achievements. I performed my 100 takedown, earning Archon of War, defeated our 200 Vargol, earning Salty Earth, and picked a legendary rarity item for Awakening. We reach and defeat the Vargol Champion after struggling with trying to get rid of the healers with him on our back, and then do the same for the remaining captain, Wraith Lord Decimus. With all 3 captains down, it was time to head for Zamora. She's unbearable as an opponent. She attacks from the distance with spells, teleports away when you're close for too long, and will summon bugs that follow you and explode on your face, inflicting poison. She's definitely the frustrating type of enemy that seeks to overwhelm you with the number of attacks. We push through though and get rewarded with a 3-for-1 deal. Mid-fight, I earned Shield Captain for having hit 200 enemies with a shield throw, and when we finally defeat her, we earned Zamora, and as she dropped our 5th legendary rarity item, we get geared up. Well, she's done.
What a waste.
Zamora defeated. Pick up 5 legendary pieces of equipment. Geared up. 3-for-1. Woo! Upon returning, we're introduced to the Valor Plate shards. Each one has 4 to collect, and they provide some extra effects to benefit each Valor Plate's playstyle. To collect them, we need to complete certain tasks with the respective Valor Plate, and once unlocked, they can be even further upgraded for better effects. Zenon has absorbed the Ethereum Zamora was holding, and exactly as predicted, it is not something one single individual can hold. As she says, she's struggling to keep it at bay. She dismisses our concern, and we head to the monolith to reach the next floor, the Water Realm. We also unlock the Spirit Realm mode, but we won't touch on it for now. We make our way to the central tower and have to defeat 2 waves of enemies, giving us a glimpse of our future. More on that in just a bit. On the way up, Macros realizes we are actually alive.
Zamora was defeated.
Oh no.
And in the next wave he sends the Black Tide, his personal soldiers. No surprise, we defeat them and enter the Water Realm. We finish the mission by turning on the beacon at the entrance so we can travel here more easily. Aware of us now, Macros is taking more direct actions. He has raised a barrier around Lunara's lair so he can exactly reach her that easily. We need to shut down its power source if we want access, and that's our next mission. It's located in the Tormentor's Asylum, she renamed. Now, I just mentioned that those waves of enemies at Central Tower were a glimpse into our future. Having completed that story mission unlocked the Tower of Trials game mode. As you can probably already guess, it's this game's version of a wave-based arena, and we'll have to deal with it for all achievements. However, at this time, there's no point in doing it. Not only are we not ready for it, this isn't the exact tower we need to beat. You see, there are 3 versions of this mode: Normal, Extended, and Exalted. You can forget the first and the third, as we'll never touch them. The Extended version is the one we'll need. However, it is not available right now anyway, so we'll just skip with the story mode. The enemies in this realm are the Abyssians, a bloodthirsty race of creatures that torture you and suck your blood.
How fun.
We fight through them to the asylum, and oh, what do you know, another barrier. We need to go grab Ethereum so Sanctum can break it. Unlike the Earth realm though, we have to hunt these crab creatures that the Abyssians use to harvest Ethereum. After killing 3 of them, we can finally enter the asylum. We defeat some enemies powering the barrier, and then fight our mission boss, Morax, a fire realm creature that was locked in here. Fittingly, he will try to set the floor on fire sometimes. He can take a beating too, break through his defenses, and that's when the damage shows. He goes down, we destroy the source of the barrier, and return to a beacon, ending the mission. With the new materials we were collecting in the Water Realm, we unlock 2 more Valor Plates. Armistice, which is all about breaking the opponent's stamina bar, aka breaching them as the game calls it, and Typhoon, who focuses on water damage. Zenon is concerned about Sanctum as she is not a Valorian like us, and is getting sick from holding the Ethereum. So you'd think we'd go for Lunara now because we broke the barrier. No! Ignoring the fact that she is dying, instead because she discovered the Abyssians are holding a cache of Valorian artifacts, she thinks it would be in our best interest to take them off their hands. So here I go again fighting through waves of Abyssians. Mind you, this faction probably has my most hated enemy in the whole game, and it's the Medusa. And it's because of one stupid move. It can flashbang you. Never mind the whole you don't know where you are swinging. This thing is attacking me directly. Either way, there's not much to comment on this story mission. It doesn't even have a boss. We just defeat the enemies that are maintaining the barrier of the cache and loot it. Done. And here are the consequences of our actions. Because we were busy taking those artifacts, Macros sent the Black Tide to raise another shield around Lunara. So we have to take care of them now. They are using spirit tethers to power it. We destroy them and head to the Lunar Gate where one of the Black Tide's captains is waiting for us. The Enforcer is a ranged attacker. He will try to stay far away and throw projectiles at us. If we get too close, all of his melee hits are basically unblockable to force us back. If not, it can teleport us short distance away. Slowly but surely his health goes down, but the damn coward runs away before we can finish the job though. Mission complete. Sanctum finally deciphered the Rise of Ascension, so we can now be prepared for when we inevitably face Macros. For now, it's Lunara's turn, so like with Zamora, she has captains we need to defeat, otherwise they'll make our fight with her more difficult. First, we'll go after the boss we already fought before, Triax, which went down just as easily as before. The next captain, or should I say captains, is the Falsius Diarchs. However, on the way to fight them, we earn End the Deep Ones for having defeated 200 Abyssians, and Sword Saint for performing our 100 longsword weapon technique. This boss do has an annoying mechanic in that when their health gets too low, they will try to heal while the other tries to stop us. However, me being unaware of it, just let out every ability at once and killed them so fast I didn't even realize they had this mechanic until way later. Oh my god, that was complete wreckage! The last captain is Sobeko though, a crocodilian creature that will turn invisible and send some crabs when reaching certain health thresholds. Not a complicated enemy at all, just a bit annoying having to wait for it to come back after we defeat the crabs. Regardless, we get another achievement when we defeat it, as it dropped our 250th piece of equipment, earning Scavenger. It was now time to go for Lunara. She has a mechanic where she will summon orbs from time to time that will surround her, but she can also shoot them. If we leave them be for too long, they can even spawn some minions. We can attack or parry them to make them go away, or even send it back, ping pong style. Besides, Besides that, she has similar melee attacks as Solaris, except this ground wave attack that I still don't know how to exactly avoid. She managed to kill me twice, but on a good note though, because of all of her orbs, we earn mid-fight Deflector for parrying 30 projectiles, and once we defeat her, we earn Lunara. Sanctum receives Aetherium from the Water Realm, and definitely not something she can hold off for long. Macros on the other hand is getting desperate, and is willing to go through with the rites despite having lost half of his source of Aetherium, so time is running out. However, the bad news don't stop there. As we travel to the central tower once again to reach the next realm, Sanctum reveals the Rites of Ascension are not a spell to ascend to godhood. If Macro uses it with the Aetherium he has left, most likely he will not only kill himself in the process, but also the world around him. As we digest this new development of events and Macros crashes out,
Is there no one left who is worthy?
we go through another wave of enemies in the tower, fight the Enforcer who runs away again, and enter the Air Realm. After exploring a bit, we activate the beacon, ending the mission. With materials we gathered, I can make 2 more Valor Plates. First was Aegis Horn, focus on a tank playstyle where you overcharge your health bar, and second Illumina, who focus on eating enemy weak points. We break the news to Zenon about Macros, and I legit was not expecting this reaction.
Have to stop him before he wreaks more havoc on this world.
Okay, Godfall, you got a chuckle out of me. Anyway, we need to hurry up, so our next target is Greaves Sunsteel, Macros' personal godsmith. We have to head to the Shrine of the Godsmith and locate the entrance to his forge first. We defeat the Niak mercenaries and find a Sunforged Ravager, a creature that was thought extinct, so we make it extinct again. Upon reaching the inside of the shrine, the Black Tide isn't happy about us finding this place, so we provide some pointy-shaped antidepressants and discover the entrance to Greaves' Forge. We go back to the beacon to regroup and finish the mission. So just like before, we have to defeat the captains, otherwise we'll get debuffs while fighting the boss. I went for one I haven't fought yet, the Niak Summoner, a ranged enemy with lightning attacks. He himself isn't bad in this mission since he is most of the time alone, he only summons some minions after a bit, but in the future he's often accompanied by other enemies, which can make him a pain to deal with. Yeah, the game's mid bosses are often designed to be later fought alongside other enemies, so I wasn't looking forward to that. Before we fight the other captain, we unlock the next Valor Plate, Mobius, which specializes in the Siphon ability and Void damage. The remaining captain was the Sunforged Ravager, which we quickly defeat too. So now it's time to take down Greaves Sunsteel. Out of the major bosses so far, he gave me the most trouble. Unblockable fire attacks that are hard to track on the floor, sets the floor on fire with some attacks, the timing of his parries is a bit awkward, and after certain health thresholds he'll raise the temperature of the sections of the arena and we'll go stand there while sending minions after us. He has 4 phases, so even if I did die, and I did, I was slowly chipping away. When he inevitably falls, we earn Greaves Sunsteel. Before speaking with Sanctum, we unlock the next Valor Plate, Vertigo, who focuses on air damage. Sanctum says if Macro starts the rites, it cannot be stopped until completed, so if we interrupt him, someone will have to finish the rites. Sanctum proposes sacrificing herself to do it, and we will just rush through this development to another treasure cache heist. During it, we fight a new boss, Excelsius. This guy swaps constantly between unblockable attacks and perilous ones, so he's one of the easier bosses so far, as you have so many opportunities to stun him. We beat him and loot the artifacts. We begin wondering if Sanctum is lying about the Rites of Ascension. Zenon believes that due to being a construct, even if she were to ascend, she wouldn't fall for the temptation of power. Regardless, we must keep going with our mission. Gilded Commander is the only one left, and just like with Greaves, we need to find the entrance to his lair, which is being guarded by the Black Tide. Starting making our way there, we fight some enemies and end up earning another achievement, as rank 2 list for hitting an enemy's weak points 200 times. We come across another Black Tide officer who, just like the one before, runs away, but at least this one dropped the key. We make it to a barrier, but this time Sanctum herself has enough Aetherium to break it without help, although her laugh is a bit concerning. To add stress onto the situation, Soros is starting to be a bit reckless, totally not raising any red flags. We then finally confront both officers of the Black Tide. As expected, they are meant to be fought together. Brute went down first, and then after a long time, Enforcer went too. But hold on a minute, can we just talk about this guy's take it down animation? Brute, you literally snap his neck, but with Enforcer, he just looks like he's being bullied. You rip off the spear from his hands, backhand punch to the face, followed by a knee to the jaw, and a punch to his shoulder, then the guy just ragdolls to the floor. I don't know why this animation in retrospect looks so funny to me. It must have been all the times I fought him later. Anyway, back to the game. We reach the beacon outside of the Gilded Commander's lair, and we're ready to start going after his captains. Excelsius and the Black Tide officers again, which weirdly, despite the Brute being there, you actually don't fight them, just the Enforcer. Anyway, we bully him like the running coward he has been the whole game, and they defeat Excelsius. Time to confront the last of Macro's lieutenants. Soros, however, has made it there first and is unceremoniously killed without hesitation. Despite supposedly being one of Orin's friends, the guy goes on as if he was a random basic enemy we fought total game. Come to think of it, we barely interact with him or the other commanders save for a few lines in the lobby. Most of the time they are doing something off screen. What a waste of characters. Anyway, Gilded Commander as the last boss before Macros is not going down easily. In fact, initially you literally cannot damage him until you kill the ghosts he spawns. But more annoyingly later, not only he summons more ghosts to protect himself, but also brings in these air dog creatures that slow down time, and weirdly, even the boss is not immune to these, thank god. That said, this is more of a fight where you have to defeat his minions first while trying to prevent them from hitting you on the back. He himself is just as basic as every other mini-boss in the game. We avenged Soras for what is worth and earned Gilded Commander. Sanctum will not hold on for long with all the Ethereum she's holding, so no time to waste. We need to go after Macros now. We need to go to the central tower one final time and go to the throne room where Macros is located. We do gain one last achievement while going up. In this one room we have to destroy crystals that are summoning the Black Tide. While facing this challenge, we earn Punish the Traitors for having defeated 200 members of the Black Tide. We defeat an old mini-boss, Great Lord Decimus, and then we reach the entrance to the throne room and fight the duo boss Falcius Diarch. Once both are down, the mission is complete and we can finally fight Macros. We do one last check on our equipment and upgrades and it's game on. Macros can use all weapon types, and while he starts with the longsword, on the second phase of onwards he can swap at any time to any of the others. The Warhammer in particular being the most troublesome. Not only does some of his attacks have a huge AoE effect to it and burn the floor, pairing some of his standard ones is actually a trap that will open you up for an unblockable as you do not recover in time. It took me a bit to figure out and some deaths, but eventually we did manage to take down our brother. We earn Macros. Sanctum then has to finish the rise, otherwise the backlash is going to tear reality apart, and she ascends to godhood. Roll credits. Psych, we're not done with the story at all. Remember what I said in the intro that this game got an expansion? Yeah, we're gonna dive into it immediately. The Fire and Darkness expansion. The monolith throne room is being invaded by the Flamebloods. While we deal with the ones that came through, we need to go inside to permanently close the portal. If it wasn't blatantly obvious by the name Flameblood, they are coming from the last elemental realm, the Fire realm. For once, me and the game are aligned in our goals. We eventually come across a huge door with a not so friendly sound behind it.
I can guess why.
We reach it and there's a rift in the air where enemies are coming from. We defeat them and seal it, which summons our next boss, High Lord Macantor. Okay, this guy gave me a lot of trouble. His melee attacks make him go way to the side, which turns the camera against you to block or parry. Then at some point he turns into a ball and starts charging at us, and we need to bait him into crashing into the pillars where some ranged enemies will spawn. The problem is a bit on the hitbox on that charge, because it summons 2 fire creatures, which makes the hitbox on that way bigger than it should be. It often clipped me no matter how fast I tried to get out of the way. Plus, since he doesn't have phases, every time I died he would heal fully. Oh, and there was this moment as well where I was trying to bait him into one of the pillars, but he just lost aggro out of nowhere and healed fully mid-fight, so yeah, this fight sucked. On a good note though, at least we got 2 achievements for it. Versatile Warrior for performing a Polarity Shockwave 100 times, and High Lord Macantor for defeating him. We keep heading in and find out that Macros had a pet dragon, but fighting it now would be unwise. We get ambushed by more Flamebloods and earned another achievement for our trouble, Assassin for having performed 40 death blows. We head to the Twilight Beacon to finish the mission, only to return to our Sanctum being invaded by the one pulling the strings of this conflict, Morax. He murders Zenon and steals Sanctum's god power while mumbling something about the cycle. Sanctum in her weakened state tells us to go find and help Zenom's apprentice, as he's working on a device to help fight Morax. However, I do a bit of detour to try out the other modes, starting with Dreamstones. In this mode you have a central boss you eventually need to defeat. However, before you do, you can do side missions to gather stability and lucidity. Every time you go for one of these, you have 2 secondary objectives which will give you more of those 2 currencies, allowing you to do more rounds. With each completed, the boss will drain stability from the Dreamstone. Once it reaches 0, you'll be forced to fight it and can no longer go for more side missions. The reason you want to go for this instead of straight to the boss is the other currency, lucidity. You can spend this currency to add rewards to each mission you complete in the current Dreamstone. The game will offer a selection of rewards so you can choose what type of loot you can get. Very useful for farming equipment. We're also introduced to the quest system. We always have a quest which will give you legendary rarity equipment, and you can have up to 10 objectives of varying rarities. With each one completed you get progress towards finishing the quest. It's mostly something that happens in the background, but there are some achievements to deal with some of these. In fact, since the first legendary objective we got was to complete the Dreamstone, when we beat the boss of the current one, we earned both small steps for completing our first quest objective and great deeds for completing a legendary objective. I then decided to try out the Spirit Realm mode. In here you have complete freedom to wander around one of the realms collecting souls to power events. Once these events are completed, you'll be given an Elder Soul that powers a giant gate to face that realm's boss. In the case of the Earth realm, it's Zamora. You can overcharge these events, which will give you stronger Elder Souls, which will make the realm boss more difficult, but with better loot. Additionally, in this mode there's a new mechanic mechanic in that some enemies are in the spirit realm, while others are not. In order to actually harm them, you need to be in the same realm. While I was farming this mode, I managed to get 3 achievements. I activated Arch and Fury for the 40th time, earning Ultimate Warrior, looted our 30th Valor Plate core from Fallen Soldiers for Armor of the Gods, and defeated a total of 2,000 enemies for Slayer. I then gathered the 3 Elder Souls to power the gate and fight Zamora. Now, I realize that in retrospect this is kinda my fault for overcharging the Elder Souls, which in turn made this more difficult. But oh my god, this boss fight legitimately was testing my patience. Zamora herself was already a boss that was designed to harass you at a distance. Now, what do you think happens when you do the following? Add a second mini-boss alongside her, said mini-boss summons minions that protect him from damage, and they are often in the opposite realm. Even if you kill said minions, they respawn so fast you hardly can get even a single point of damage on the mini-boss. Zamora is constantly spamming her spells which follow you. She is swapping between the 2 realms as well. The bugs she summons to chase you to explode on your face can also be in the spirit realm, meaning you sometimes have no way to stop them in time. The bugs leave poison on the floor for a bit, so even if you do avoid their explosion, if your target just happens to stand there, you're screwed. Lastly, and this is the most important one, the game makes no mention of a cooldown of your ability to swap between realms, which is a titanic issue when the game overwhelms you with so much stuff that the mechanic legitimately cannot keep up with it. In one moment you're trying to hit the exploding bugs, and in the next the raids summoned by the mini-boss come for you and you cannot damage them in any way because the cooldown is not over. This is a boss fight that wasn't designed to be fought solo, that much is clear. After a few tries I did the sensible thing and just quit out of the mission and took a break from the game. I know there is no point for this mode in terms of achievements, but I want to come back in a bit because some shards that unlock special abilities for the Valor Plates, including the one I'm using, require this mode. After returning from my break later, I decided to repeat Macros' boss fight to earn the materials to craft the last Valor Plate, Interclaw. Then I went back to the Spirit Realm mode to farm and see if I could defeat Zamora. While working on powering the gate, I performed my 100 Great Sword Weapon technique, earning Berserker. Upon defeating another mini-boss, I fulfilled the conditions to unlock the first shard for my Valor Plate, and soon after, gold, silver, and for collecting a total of 100,000 currency. We fought Zamora again, and this time she was easier but no less frustrating. Either way, she's done for the count. After returning to the lobby, we claim our shard and resume the story. Where were we again? Alright, Zenon died and we have to find his apprentice. In typical fashion, the flame bloods get in the way, but we send them back to the hellfires they came from. We meet Zenon's apprentice and he wasn't what I expected. Well, to be fair, he's probably the more expressive character we got in the entire game, so kinda welcomed. Also, Zenon himself was known to be eccentric, quote-unquote, so taking in a Trolloc as an apprentice after he was being held prisoner by the Fargold sounds right. Anyway, his name is Saba, and he was working on the device to help with Morax until the Flame Blood arrived. Fortunately, they didn't do substantial damage to the device, and this is when we discover it's a light amplifier to fight the darkness, the force behind Morax's power, and also the cause of all the fog in the area. 3 dark tears are open nearby, with the flame buzz once again coming from them, and we're tasked with sealing them. This clears the fog for now, but the source is at the top of the tower nearby. We leave our soldiers to protect Saba and head there to deal with it, only to find this mission's boss, the Flame Blood Abomination. Now, if there was one mini-boss I grew to hate every time I saw his abominable face, it was this guy. What angers me about this boss is that demon blockable grab he can do from a distance. Now, if you're paying attention to him, you can easily react and dodge, but the problem is trying to keep your attention on him. Not only can he teleport to somewhere else in the arena, at certain health thresholds he will spawn these legions of fire creatures that run across the arena, and if you touch them, they explode and leave lava on the floor. So good luck trying to dodge these things while trying to keep track of the boss. There was even a moment where he teleported to somewhere to my left, and while I was rotating the camera to see him, the attack was already coming. I had zero time to react. You can already tell this boss will be even more of a menace when he's later combined with other enemies. Finally, we defeat them, earning Flame Blood Abomination, and in the meantime, Saba finishes the device. Although we'll need something to power it first. Saba replaces Zenon as our local blacksmith, and when we speak with Sanctum, she feels something in the depths of the monolith that could power the device. So down we go. We get cut off from Sanctum and speak with another Sanctum, the Elder Sanctum to be precise. And this one doesn't have any confidence that we can beat Morax. Refusing to help, she summons her guardian to eliminate us, Kuriakos. After Abomination, this guy wasn't bad. His unique mechanic is that he will at some point force you into this tiny zone where it becomes significantly harder to defend against his attacks. If you try to stay outside, your health will quickly deplete, so you kinda don't have much of a choice. After putting him down, we earn Guardian Kuriakos, and the other Sanctum decides to trust us and gives us her light to power the device. We make it back, but it is too late for Sanctum. Without her light, she falls into a comatose state. Without Sanctum's guidance, the only goal now is to go after Morax. We use the other Sanctum's light to power the device, and we should be able to reach his fortress through the Crystalline Pass. Obviously, Morax does not approve and tries to persuade us to leave, both the easy way and the hard way. He even said Abomination again. Oh joy. As we get closer to Morax's front door, we have been fighting these guys for a while, and as a result we unlock Smother the Flame for defeating 200 Flamebloods. As our last obstacle, we encounter High Lord Mercator again. He's pulling everything to stop us. Unlike our first encounter, this time we actually did well against him, even if he summoned backup. In fact, we even earned the Razor's Edge for having inflicted the bleed ailment 100 times. It was now time to face Morax, or should I say Moraxes. Yes, all this time Morax was just one of 3 people, a 1v3 as our final boss fight. The red and yellow ones, named Fallen Hero and Deceiver respectively, will try to get up close and personal, while the Morax we know attacks from a distance with spells in his orb. The intent of this boss is to try to parry the blue attacks. When you do, the Morax you parry will become your sole target and the others become incapacitated for a bit. From here on, it is a matter of hitting the target's weak points, which will disable that Morax for a good while. We repeat this until we beat our first Morax, the Deceiver. Now, even if we die, at least it will now remain a 2v1. We quickly repeated the process for the second one as he was already low, which leaves only the Morax we know left. And for the love of God, does he get aggressive now. In addition to his magic attacks with the ball, this guy does not have a single second where he isn't attacking. Legit, the only times he stops is when you're too far or behind a wall. He managed to kill me 3 times before I started making progress. I was slowly chipping away at his health by using my weapon techniques and then getting out of there and wait for their cooldown. It was slow, don't get me wrong, but I can't argue with the results, especially since I was still inflicting bleeds, which took a bit of extra health too. In fact, while in the fight, we earned Master of Elements for inflicting any element 300 times. And when we finally put an end to this joke of a boss, we unlock Morax. With Morax's defeat, the darkness is free and starts immediately spreading through the realms. We recover Sanctum and she asks us to return to Hyperion as she will contain the darkness to the monolith. Orino, however, decides to stay to help fight it, even knowing there will be no end to it. With the exception of a side boss we'll cover soon, this concludes the story of Godfall. From here onward, it is all about grinding. We have 3 modes we have to focus on. First, the Dreamstones. While there are no achievements tied to this specifically, it is in our interest to complete these. One thing I didn't mention about this mode is that there are 2 types of Dreamstones, normal and volatile. Normal ones can be started at any point, but each one you start you pay with currency, and as you beat these, you unlock higher level ones. Why are we interested in these? They will give skill points as a first time reward, allowing us to earn more than the usual 50 we'd get from just leveling up. The volatile ones do not give things such as skill points, however they do give better loot, which is always welcome. Volatile Dreamstones are earned as rewards sometimes from standard ones. For now, it was a matter of farming these for levels, gear and quests. Speaking of which, we finished enough objectives to finish our first quest. After collecting our reward, we earned the Road to Greatness. After completing our first Dreamstone post-story, I decided to tackle the optional side story missions that remain. You remember how the realm boss like Zamora and Lunara had captains that would give you debuffs if you didn't defeat them first? Turns out the Fire Realm also has its own captains, but they didn't give any debuffs while fighting Morax, so this became completely optional. First one was Guardian Kuriakos, which went down no problem. Second was the Dark Tears? Okay, so there are also these extra missions in addition to the captains. In these you have to seal 3 tears by just fighting your standard normal Flamebloods. It was during this mission though that I remembered, oh right, there are other weapon types I need to use. I decided to ditch the slow greatsword for something just as slow but with a bit more impact, a Warhammer. And it turns out swapping to this particular Warhammer was a happy accident, as it inflicts fire damage and due to old gear I was very close to the 100 total ignite ailments. So shortly after starting the second Dark Tear, we unlocked Disciple of Alas. We defeat the last Dark Tear and head to the next captain, Flame Blood Abomination. Still as annoying, but at least I didn't die this time. Got almost too greedy near the end though. The last captain is High Lord Mercator and I killed him while constantly trying to get him to hit the damn pillars, but the guy's charge just wouldn't connect. What the hell is this boss's problem? The second and last Dark Tear mission was more of the same as the first. Standard Flame Blood enemies while dealing with some sort of condition with the 3 tears. But at least we got another achievement for our troubles. Soul Reaper for having soul shattered 500 times. There was only one mission left. Remember that pet dragon Macros had? Yeah, we'll need to deal with it. Only not now. Considering it's a side boss, everything was telling me I should probably be near max level before I try that. So I went back to grinding Dreamstones. Because we fight the boss with each round and these initial Dreamstones were lower level than us, we quickly unlocked Hunter for having defeated 40 meat bosses. Later, while still grinding these, we earned Earthshaker for performing our 100 Warhammer weapon technique, Pierce the Heavens for defeating 200 Niak, and then we swapped water damage and therefore gained Frostbrand for inflicting shield 100 times. At level 49 and very close to level 50, I decided to go for the optional boss, Dragani the Unstable. Now this boss works a bit differently. After reaching the first hell threshold, she will enter her volcanic fury state, where she has access to fire and lava attacks that will cover the arena. And that lava stays a long time, believe me. The thing with this boss though is that she takes barely any damage if you hit anything other than her legs or her bracers, one in each arm and another on the tail. If you manage to break any of them, this will force her out of her state and leave her stunned for a good while. Repeat this loop until she is dead. I wish I could say it was as easy as I'm making it sound, but this boss took me quite a few deaths to finally beat, mostly due to her zoning me out into the lava. Did I mention the arena, despite being the largest in the game, it has mini lava lakes on the edges that she sometimes goes in, and I have no choice but to wait for her to come back. It is hard to manage her attacks while trying to stay away from the lava, especially when parries also send you flying backwards. Eventually I pushed through though and managed to defeat her, earning Kragani the Unstable. With all story missions done, it is full steam ahead with the grinding now. Defeating Kragani gave us enough XP to reach the max level of 50, and this unlocked a few things. First, Ascension levels. These will provide extra benefits so you can keep getting stronger despite having reached the level cap. Second, we unlocked the last mode, Lightbringer, as well as the ascended version of the Tower of Trials.
And also matchmaking is now available, but who cares?
Either way, everything from now on is just a matter of grinding for experience and gear, so we can take tougher and tougher encounters in these modes. We first check out Lightbringer. For this mode, we need to use beacons to traverse to one of the realms that has been infested by the dark fog. This fog will drain our max health, and it can only be removed by staying in the light caused by the beacons, or light orbs dropped by enemies, or in light caches. More on those in a bit. Our main goal is to find the dark tear, defeat it, which frees a container of light, and escort it back to the amplifier. We can do this up to 3 times before we're forced to activate it and confront hordes of enemies trying to stop us. Defeating them will cause light crystals to appear nearby, which we collect and store on the amplifier. When it's full, we activate it again to progress to the next round. We repeat this 2 more times, with the last round being against up to 3 mid-bosses at the same time, 1 for each dark tier we complete. When they are defeated, the last crystals spawn, and we activate the amplifier 1 last time to destroy the Heart of Darkness, clearing the mode. We fail if we die 5 times, or if we let the darkness fill up completely on the top bar. Because this was our first time, we almost failed on the first trip, so we activate the amplifier immediately. We get less rewards, but whatever, we can try to go for that later. As soon as we start on the waves, we earn Shatter the Bastions for defeating 200 Crimson Wind enemies, and later, after dealing with our mid-boss, since only 1 tier, we complete the mode for the first time and earn Artbreaker. Upon returning, we are introduced to cursed items, which are exclusive rewards from Lightbringer. These items offer powerful effects, but they have a drawback. These drawbacks can be removed by equipping the items and completing objectives. Considering how close I was to failing that run just now, I decided to do some runs into the Tower of Trials, the base version, not the Ascended. In there, we unlocked another achievement, Stormbringer, for inflicting the shock element 100 times. After a few runs, we went back to the Dreamstones to get those skill point rewards, and we got a lot of achievements on the way. With the Void Damage Warhammer on our hands, we quickly unlocked Cosmera's Embrace for cursing an enemy 100 times. Then we activated for the 100th time the Inner Focus Dual Blaze Weapon technique for Dervish. We swapped to a Pole Arm with Earth Damage, which quickly earned us Shield of the Earth for poisoning an enemy 100 times, Dragoon for performing a Pole Arm weapon technique 100 times, and lastly, while trying one of the other armors, we unlocked Egalitarian for defeating 75 elite enemies. Having grinded a decent amount of Dreamstones, I returned to Lightbringer to try to get the achievement Struggle Against the Darkness. This one requires you to complete Lightbringer while you have 3 curses applied. After you defeat each dark tier, you can interact with their remains, which will bring you a selection of curses. Dismantling cursed items or lifting their curses will grant you cursed materials, which you can spend here. Each one you apply to yourself not only grants you the described debuff, but it will also increase the strength of the enemies and the overall rewards for the rest of the mode. The achievement doesn't care which level of curse you have as long as it is 3, so we'll always pick the lesser ones. Furthermore, grinding for this achievement is also an excuse to start farming the light caches as well. Often you will have an optional objective of finding caches of light. To find them, activate the beacons and look for ones that are glowing yellow. When near them, they will point in the direction of these caches. Defeat all nearby enemies and you can claim it to raise your light level, which translates to better rewards. We'll need to open a grand total of 200 caches, so might as well get a head start. After completing the first dark tier, it dropped our 10th cursed item, unlocking Cursed Collector. But unfortunately, as I kept progressing through the mode, I was starting to struggle as the enemies' levels were starting to go a bit too high for me. I ultimately died while trying to go for one of the caches because the enemies are that tanky, while I was on a time limit with the fog. For now I kept grinding while only taking 2 curses to hopefully gain more Ascension levels, and even then it was still not enough. Personal note, screw the Crimson Judicators. These guys are some of the most blatant cheating moments I've seen in the entire game. If they start an attack, they will reach you one way or another. Look at this moment right here. He starts an attack, I immediately dodge away from him, and yet he slides across the floor with his legs completely still and manages to hit me. I blame these guys for some of the stupidest losses of health I've experienced in this game, and if I somehow managed to reach the last section, the 3 mid-bosses on the last wave kept kicking my cursed butt to the Shadow Realm. As I kept trying this over and over, I managed to collect a total of 50 cursed items, or indiscriminate looter. I eventually managed to beat it with 2 curses applied, but that is obviously not enough. We need 3 curses. It was a good sign though that my character was getting stronger with each attempt. In fact, I even upgraded enough shards to unlock the ascended effect of my Valor Plate. I would then start using the other armors to unlock their shards as well, so I can further upgrade the silver mains. While doing that, I finished my 5th quest, earning Valorian Hero. I gathered the money and upgraded all silver main shards to max, which unlocked the exalted effect as well as a cool new skin for it. This should be unlocked. Oh, ho, ho. I'm glowy. With a higher level and rocking my new skin, we tackled the 3 curse challenge once again. We made it to the final section with only 1 life lost, defeated the initial 2 waves, and it was time for the triple threat. I'd also like to add that the game decided to throw an extra challenge on top with the debuff it picked for the last wave. Some enemies will randomly become invulnerable for a few seconds, and you guessed it, the boss are not excluded from this. The first one that came out was the Alpha Ranker, which we were doing decently for a bit, until the second one came out, the Vargol Champion. Another boss I was aware he had the stupid I'll glide towards you with my unblockables if you try to dodge away cheat, and to add insult to injury, he was the boss with the shield. This game wouldn't let me catch a break. At least the Alpha Ranker was already below half health, so I tried to keep focusing my attacks on him to try to get him out quickly. I got double tapped while trying to get rid of a buffing enemy, only for the third boss to spawn now, the Wraith Lord. Now more than ever I had to get rid of the Alpha Ranker, otherwise they would overwhelm and start taking my remaining lives. I threw every possible technique in this direction, and thankfully the damage over time from my ailments was putting in work. 1 boss down and the third was below half too. We quickly used Arch and Fury to deal with his last build of health, and only 1 boss was left. It was the guy with the shield. Still, even with that annoying debuff, Vargol Champion was the only enemy remaining, which simplified the last stretch. He still managed to take our 3rd life, but we eventually managed to whittle him down and finally deal the last blow. We collect the light crystals, activate the amplifier, destroy the Heart of Darkness, and watch our loot raining from the sky. We earned Struggle Against the Darkness. With the hard part of Lightbringer down, I wanted to start working immediately on the other hard achievement of this game. For that, we need to reach the 20th trial in the Ascended Tower of Trials. As I already mentioned before, the Tower of Trials mode is a series of wave-based challenges. With each round, you will earn keys you can use to open chests. The faster you do them, the more keys you get. Each trial is composed of 2 challenges. The first one is defeating all enemies on the elevator as it goes up. Then for the second part, you are given a choice between doors with potential rewards. The higher rarity it is, the more difficult the challenge behind it. In addition to gear, you can also find buffs to help you, and at certain points as you go up, you will be forced to pick debuffs as well. So the strategy to try to survive to the 20th trial is to always go for the higher rarity doors when they have boons, and go for the lower ones when it is just gear. We were completely at the whim of the tower. There is no telling what kind of buffs or debuffs she'll grant us. The first few trials are always easy due to our levels though, and as a result we earned Keymaker for collecting a total of 200 keys, as we had already got some on previous runs of the base version of the tower. And we quickly reached trial 10 for Rise Up. Now is when things start to get tougher. By trial 11, enemies were already on level 70. If you were paying attention, you'd notice that the 3 bosses that we just fought in Lightbringer with 3 curses were level 71. So we're barely over half of the way, and we're already at the same level of difficulty as that. Oh boy. But to be real for a second, I say that, but I was actually surprised with myself. Out of my 3 lives, I only lost 1 because I got greedy on the door choices on trial 12. As far as I was aware, I was doing okay, and I was about to enter the door for trial 15, and then I'll just let the footage speak for itself. Nice. Woo. Okay, we got. Better not go for the legendaries. Okay. Final duration, I'll take it. Okay, this is a boss, 100% a boss. Oh, no, not you! Are you kidding me? Yeah, the game decided to throw at me the optional DLC boss, and if you thought she was difficult in her story mission, try doing it on a smaller circular arena. Your eyes aren't deceiving you, that's basically 3/4 of the arena covered in lava. If she spawns more, I'm basically screwed. I went out fighting though, managed to get her to her last quarter of health before she took me down, and you better believe I was raging considering how long this mode takes. Grabbing a boss that restricts your movement and then putting it in a smaller arena is diabolical behavior. Knowing the possibility that she could appear again on our next attempts, I went to the Dreamstones and started doing the Gragani ones to learn her moveset, so I could deal with her more quickly. Sure, this version deals less damage, but I think it was worth getting familiar with this boss. After that, I returned to Lightbringer to gain more experience and started working towards the other 2 achievements. But it wouldn't be long before I took another run to the tower. This run though. First, the tower was out for blood with the debuffs. Oh my god, these are so bad! What the fuck is this? Then I lost 2 lives to the same enemy, an elite Judicator on trial 14. Yeah, the guy that magnetizes you no matter how far you go. On trial 15 we went against Lunara, and then managed to get all the way to trial 18 where we almost died fighting a second Lunara. Then came the choice for the doors on trial 19. It was just 2 more rounds, this door and then the lift up, and we'd unlocked the achievement. So I didn't want to pick one of the legendary boons, as those would give harder encounters. That said, the only other 2 options were epic rarity, so I ended up picking one of those. And guess who was behind it? The Flame Blood Abomination. I was being extremely cautious around this guy, trying to defeat the minions so I could focus on him, and not get hit by that super fast unblockable grab. I got grabbed twice in a row and died. Did I mention reaching this point took over an hour? But I couldn't stop. I immediately went back in, totally not salty at all. Shut up. We managed this time to reach trial 15 without losing a single life, where we end up fighting our brother, Macros, which we defeated easily only to lose all 3 lives to Kragani on trial 18. Well, so much for those practice Dreamstones against her. On another run, while we got a nice upgrade to our lifestone, we lost all 3 lives on trial 15 fighting Morax of all bosses, with a shield debuff on top. I decided to return to the Dreamstones to get a bit more XP, and after a few, I managed to finish enough quest objectives to complete my 10th quest, and unlock Valorian Champion. Having decompressed a bit with this new achievement, I returned to the tower, and this time luck was on our side. On trial 15 we fought Macros with 2 lives left, on trial 18 we got Lunara with 1 life left, and thank god on trial 19 we didn't get any boss. I was tippy-toeing that last door challenge to avoid losing then and there, and damn the game tried by throwing a few Judicators at me, including an elite one, but we beat the challenge and all that was left was taking the elevator up to the 20th trial. I took similar care, and finally, after hours of attempts, we earned Ascendant. Only 3 achievements left. I returned to Lightbringer to finish these last 3. I re-rolled my quest objectives until I got legendary ones I could do in that mode, and when I finished my 10th, I unlocked Great Victories. As I was a much higher level now, I kept doing Lightbringer with all 3 curses while going for all caches of light when available. I even tried it on one of the other realms, and inevitably I unlocked Lightbringer for finishing this mode a total of 10 times, and finally after a couple more runs, we opened our 200 cache of light and unlock Need That Light. Godfall 100% completed. It is time for stats. Steam Hunter's average completion time is 61 hours and 54 minutes. Our playthrough took 82 hours and 6 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and say it is a 6 in difficulty. Those bosses and modes can be frustrating, but if you keep going at it, eventually due to ascension levels and gear, you'll get through even the 20 floors of the Ascended Tower of Trials. The question at that point though will be how much time you want to waste grinding for this. You can make things easier though if you look for proper builds for each valor plate, so I think a 6 is justified, but it could be higher or lower depending on how much you're familiar with these types of combat mechanics, or if you have friends to join you in co-op. As for the overall game, look, it's as mid can be. Combat can be fun at times, but there are some pain points like those damn Judicators who slide over to you. While I speak about these guys particularly, there are other enemies who also partake in this behavior. Regardless, once you complete the story missions and then head over to the other modes, there's only so many times you can do them before you start getting bored. It could be fun if you could do it with some friends though. Either way, I cannot in good faith recommend this game. I guess if you like endlessly grinding, this game could be for you. But even then, wait for a good discount and pray that the servers stay alive for a long time, or that the devs have the epiphany of adding an offline mode. Thank you for watching. As usual, you can join the Twisted Wings Discord server down in the description, where a Steam achievement community with monthly challenges, and where you can find help for multiplayer achievements or just simply to hang out and have fun. If you do join us, I'll see you around there. I'd like to also say thank you so much for the support. We've recently passed 800 subscribers, so we are 1/5 away from reaching 1000. Thank you so much. I got other games I plan to do videos on, so be on the lookout for them. So don't forget to leave a comment, like and subscribe, and also hit that bell to be notified when they come out. One last time, thank you for watching, and until next time.